Welcome to FinOps in Action. I'm your host, Alon Arvat. Each week, I'll sit down with FinOps experts to explore the toughest challenges between FinOps and engineering. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action. I hear you saying happy, having a good time. It's really great to hear that. I can tell you that for me, also as an entrepreneur, it's very important to also enjoy the ride, not only grind all day. And I wonder, is that a philosophy of yours? And do you also try to convey this message to your team as well?
Absolutely. Yes. How do I think of this? We do this job wherever you're going to get plugged in, right? And we're all in this big ship together. If I think about what we really do. And at the end of the day, it's not like we're really saving lives. I think of FinOps. Usually people save money. Yes. But I just want people to have it just be a nature of empowerment. I don't want to be this idea of a control mechanism. I want to empower them to do what they need to do, but also know that they're doing it at a well enough pace. If I go back to the principles of FinOps, usually we think of right sizing and cloud waste management, all those fun things. And the idea is, how do we just help mitigate that at the front end? If I'm no longer of this idea of labeling folks as doing good or bad, but more of here's like a good way of provisioning in the cloud. I work with teams to do proper guardrails. Then we don't really think of it that way. We just now start thinking of it as, what's my footprint? Is it scaling at what we expected? Is it, whatever that conversation is, depending on who that persona is, does it feel right? And so I do a lot of feelings, of course. It's definitely how I'm speaking to this, but that's to me the end of the day. And it's like, oh, now I understand how all these things connect. And it just bridges this gap of, this is my role, this is your role. Now we're in like a happy community. And how do we figure this out together?
And you mentioned working with engineering or your platform team in the context of waste reduction. So waste reduction was tagged as the top priority for FinOps practitioners by the latest State of the FinOps report. And I would be happy to double down on that. And I'm curious, how deep do you expect yourself as a FinOps leader to get into the waste reduction process? How are you engaged into mapping the waste, into driving engineers to take action? How do you look at it?
I will say we are definitely decentralized when it comes to FinOps. It's not a Mike show a choice. So at least I try to get out of the way of that. I keep saying this idea of empowerment. That's definitely happening. But we definitely have, through, I would say, technology leadership, idea of just good cloud cost consciousness. So people want to do well. It's more of, how do I do well to make sure I'm leveraging the right reporting, tooling to know what opportunity am I not leveraging. That's usually what the conversation is. It's not, hey, you're misbehaving. Here's 100 load balancers that haven't been touched in over a month. Please go clean those up. Yeah, does that happen? Sure. But then I don't want people having to do that as well. I want automation. So how do I do that? Well, we do chargebacks. So people are responsible from a budgetary perspective. So of course there's an encouragement there. And then if we earn favorability, I track favorability by cost centers and business units, which almost gamifies it, because now people want to be, who's doing who's generating the most favorability versus an original budget or forecast. And it just automatically gets baked in. That's not really what I'm trying to do, but it definitely is a side effect of what's happened. But really, who's going to make the changes? Who's going to mitigate the costs? It's really down to the engineering level. And it's usually, here's what I'm seeing. I believe these belong to you. We have a decent tag governance to know, I know who the owners are. Here's a list of things that I'm seeing through our tooling of, here's opportunity, the needles in the haystack. Does this make sense? Do you recognize these? Oh, I sure do. Maybe they stopped instances, didn't realize there's a run rate on the volumes. Do we still need that infrastructure? No, let me go clean that up. Boom, that's done. And it's just a check-in, once a month. And I'm going to cut to the end of this. I don't want to have it be a human being that always is doing that. There's tooling to do automation. I want to automate the operational side of my job out of the way. I just want to deal on, I just love strategy and the implementation. So how do I automate that nonsense? So that's where I'm really trying to get to. That's that good state.
Sonal, you talked in the beginning about the engagement with engineers and how to work with them when you come more from the financial side as a business partner and they come from the technical side. And I wonder how you build trust with engineers where you know that they definitely have a better knowledge than you in the technology side.
Yeah. So our goal is or should be to understand their point of view as well, and not just pushing them to save money all the time, because there might be some constraints that they have, in terms of different applications, different behavior of the applications. Some applications are latency sensitive, some applications are critical for the business, some are not, but they still need powerful VMs to run those applications, simply because they might have some critical batch job that runs once in a month, but you still need high capacity of VM. And there is no solid reason for them to downsize the VM to save costs. So I think from that perspective, all FinOps practitioners need to understand their mindset as well, right? And not always push them to save money. That's one. And the another one is like talking the same language, and showing them the valuable data in order for them to take some decisions. If you do not give them the meaningful data, they won't be able to decide what they actually want to do, because they have some requirements from their end that I need my application to be running on M series VM, for example, SKU type, which is way too expensive. But that has to be the reason. And engineering teams need to justify that to the FinOps team, but then FinOps team also need to understand from their point of view is what I think, what will make, or what, at least in my experience, that has made my life a lot easier, because we often talk with each other in the same language, same keyword. So yeah.
And I'm sure that for engineers, FinOps or cost optimization is not always the most fun or the most prioritized thing. They would definitely prefer to develop new features, and they would definitely be more concerned about very big security risks than cost. Do you do anything proactively to get the engineers more motivated or to give more priority to FinOps and cost optimization tasks?
I think what I basically focus on is providing them the data. I have some great tools that I use. And what I do is like I prepare like a weekly report or a monthly report that I publish. And I have a lot of, different way of communicating things. For example, we are uh, publishing newsletter every month. We have this Power BI leadership dashboard wherein we actually identify who is doing what and how they are doing it with their different, maturity levels, crawl, walk, and run. So that is some sort of a great way for us to motivate engineers that, this month, for example, you have done XYZ saving, and you have these many recommendations to take action on for next month. And when you will take those actions, you can save, let's say, ABC savings, and then total savings would be, let's say, something, right? So if you provide them that kind of transparency and data visibility, I think that will definitely help you push them indirectly and not directly, So just make it more fun, make it more exciting, make it more engaged. I think, that's the key.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned the work with Power BI. Now, Power BI is part of the Microsoft suite. And earlier, you also mentioned that you're using AWS. I'm curious if you make an effort to do consolidated reporting across all of the clouds that you use, or you think it's good enough to do reporting for Azure and reporting to AWS and keep it a lot more simple?
Yeah. So I would say that it was definitely a challenge for the multi-cloud companies, wherein they had two tools to begin with, all those cloud native tools from Azure and AWS, and they were doing separate reportings. So that's, I would say that was one of the challenge. But now with the help of this Focus, which is an open source tool built by FinOps Foundation, That's a great way to actually deal with that challenge because Focus supports all the cloud platforms, and that gives you a unified billing data or billing overview or understanding. So that's one way to deal with that. But in Carlsberg, this Power BI reporting is just to bring this leadership dashboard into Carlsberg or into Carlsberg FinOps to make sure we bring some sort of gamification and competition among stakeholders. So only for that we are using Power BI, but for let's say consolidated billing data, we are using a third-party tool, and that actually syncs with or uses like APIs from these different cloud platforms. So Azure, AWS, these two cloud platforms, and you get the different rule-based dimensions on that tool, and based on that, you can actually slice and dice your cost.
Yes. And you also mentioned that you use it for some kind of gamification where each organization or each leader can measure himself. What are APIs that are you trying to expose to them that you want them to measure themselves against?
So one of the biggest KPI that we have added in our leadership dashboard is, of course, the cost optimization percentage. It's called COP. And then the other one is the budget variance. So these two are the main KPIs wherein we are tracking the performance of different stakeholders and their functions. Cost optimization percentage is nothing but is just an understanding of how much you are saving per month. And then the budget is around budget, how you're doing when it comes to your budget. So these two KPIs to start with, but definitely as we move further in this leadership dashboard maturity, we will bring more KPIs in whatever makes sense to us.
And do you expect engineering to do cost optimization when they're on budget, or you also only expect them to do that when they pass their budget?
I expect them to do cost optimization in every stage and not just when they see that they are under the budget or over the budget, because there is no point doing that or focusing on the optimization when you have already done something wrong. So if you are, if you understand where sort of where you can optimize your environment with the help of the data, of course, that you get from FinOps. Why not? Why to wait for the report? You can do it immediately, right? So
I agree. I also think it's a matter of culture. So you need to nurture a culture of people understand that they need to be efficient. And even if you're on budget, if you waste money for no good reason, it's money you could have taken invest in something else and grow even faster. So why waste it for no good reason? So I totally agree with this approach, and it's really cool that you have these two metrics that you track in parallel.
I mean, looking back, a lot of us are many, many years into this space, and I think probably the number one thing was really thinking that I was going to come to people with data, and they were really going to care about that data and run off and do something about it. And it's taken a lot of time to really build more of a culture so that people actually do care. So I think that was really sort of eye-opening, when people aren't really used to having that sort of as part of their responsibility. It's just sort of out of sight, out of mind. And, why should I care about these numbers?
I think it's a shock to everyone that gets into FinOps, that people don't really care. Like in the end of the day, it's not their money, it's not our money. So it's basically a matter of culture. Do you make an effort to get people to care?
I do, and I really try to sort of position it more like another metric that there's just kind of even looking at observability, for example. When you're developing software, observability is just as important to help make sure that things are performing and and to help detect issues. And so I sort of treat cost as maybe any other metric, and just sort of try to get that integrated into a more day-to-day view and be something that can help aid development or performance tuning, or just be another one of those indicators that we can see maybe early on or in correlation with other metrics. So that's how I try to approach it. Not so much of trying to come with you increased by this and really no explanation. I try to help people understand where and how the costs incur, so that they're thinking ahead, and then when they start to do changes or different things, then they will naturally reach out and say, well, I'm going to do this, and now that I know that there's a cost impact, now I'm going to come and ask you to help me figure out how much of an impact is it going to be.
I think that if we're going 15, 20 years ago, so also quality wasn't a metric that engineers would track. It was the QA department problem. Do you predict that 10 years from today, engineers would care about cost, and it will be just one more metric that they measure and track alongside quality and performance?
Yeah, I do actually. And I really do feel like, we're starting to see tools sort of converge different types of metrics together, and really trying to put that in the path of an engineer. And I think cost is just another metric. A lot of times that metric is going to correlate with others, and you'll be able to see that correlation, and or maybe it's a leading indicator. So you're going to see that maybe ahead of other metrics sort of spiking. So I really do feel like not only will we see that sort of part of normal everyday life, but I think we'll maybe see tooling maybe center around that more, surfacing that just like we do see in observability tooling today.
I totally agree with you. However, let me challenge you. I met at FinOps X, a very experienced, well-known FinOps leader, and he felt like he want to give up on trying to change the culture of engineers, and he want to just try to automate everything. Do you believe that it's actually possible to say, okay, I'll just automate everything, and we don't need to care about or worry about FinOps culture?
I would say that I maybe agree partially. I think we can do both. I think the goal should be automation. The goal should be to take as much action as possible without human interaction for some self-healing, or safe changes. But I think that especially when it comes to forecasting, I don't think we can really predict without inputs from the business. So I think, tactically, resource-wise, based on usage metrics, we can automate a lot, but I don't think we can automate all facets of what we do in a FinOps practice. So we could, we still need sort of that extra input from the business and teams as to, forward-looking, and how are we going to forecast, and how are we going to anticipate that, an increase is not really an anomaly, but it's intentional. So I think there are some things we can automate and some things that will continue to be a practice.
I mean, it's putting the responsibility and the accountability on the teams that are spending the money, right? I mean, that was really what it took to get people to pay attention. And then once they are paying attention, then the training and Prasshant's leadership and the constant reinforcement and the tools and all of the other things that we give them in order to manage these budgets, they're actively engaged with it now because they've got their skin in the game.
So would you say that your secret sauce is actually to do it top down rather than bottom up?
Absolutely. It does not work bottom up. It's very, very hard. It's got to come as a mandate from the top, especially because remember, we're in a completely separate organization. So me trying to tell someone in another team how to do their job or what's important or what their priority is doesn't go over quite as well as when it comes from their leadership team.
And can you add a bit more color to that? What does it mean top down? Because I know that many FinOps practitioners actually struggle with that. How to get the executive team engaged, how to get leadership involved. How did you do it? Did you start from the CTO, the CIO? You started from the CEO?
We went to the CIDO. We went right to the tippy top, right? So we went to Tom Peck, who was our CIDO. We kind of brought our case to him. Hey, cloud spend is out of control. Your leadership team doesn't understand their spend. They don't see it at all. So they don't necessarily, I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't have an incentive or a motivation to care about it. So we really need them to care. So again, we started with Showback. We started with monthly reports, with meeting with the TLT leadership team so they could see it. And then we, at the end of FY24, we went back and said, hey, listen, we're going to transfer budget. You guys are going to own this. You're going to manage it. And it came from our CIDO. So there wasn't really any kind of an argument or pushback. And I think, honestly, now that we're kind of 9-10 months into it, they're happier that they feel like they have a little more control over it, and they have that visibility, because the thing is when our budgets are off and we have to take from other projects and things like that, it does ultimately impact the entire organization. So this is really a great way to help them be accountable for all of our IT spend. And it does give them the visibility they need.
That's actually fascinating. I'm also fascinated by the transition you did from showback to chargeback. So I wonder if that was like an aware decision to start with showback because it's easier and eventually move to chargeback, or you just, you said
you got to start
okay.
somewhere, and it's kind of like spoon feeding them, right? They need to understand, like, this is what y'all are spending. This is what it looks like. Prasshant did a really good job of meeting one-on-one every month to show these guys, this is what you're spending. Hey, here's opportunities for you guys to save. Did you know that you should get a reserved instance and you can save X amount of dollars? Or, you should be in the savings plan. So there's all kinds of, little nuggets that we can feed to them that if they're not seeing that show back, they don't really see the benefit of it. And then once we did the chargeback, those optimization efforts are even more well received, because now they've got a vested interest in trying to bring those costs down and more in line.
And Prasshant, how did it go? Meeting with them one by one. It sounds like a pretty tedious work.
No, it was a fun. In fact, I really, take a passion to talk to people. Initially, I didn't get time in their calendars, but whenever I met with them in the lift, I said hello and introduced myself to them. And then the next meeting, I tried to secure some time with them. So like after 2-3 attempts, it really, started going in the right direction. As a result of which, I made sure that we should have a customized focus for each of the business towers. And as a result of which, as I mentioned earlier, we had a monthly cadence. We actually, had set up a process of interviews. So physically going to talk to the people. Whenever we are in office, we make sure I'm actually meeting with the top leaders every day and learning about their challenges and their business goals. So what evolved as a result of this, we started a project last year called as Project Helios. We identified top 5 to 7 optimization levers. For example, reserved instances, savings plan, ideal databases, auto parking, spot instances, S3 optimization. And we did some kind of categorization. These are our quick wins. And if you can help to drive these initiatives, the low hanging fruits, we can definitely, tie in these results in your cloud bills. So this is how we started. We had a clear execution plan, what we are going to do. And when the certain things were flowing from the top leadership, then engineers started taking action.
It's more of a cultural change than anything, right? I mean, the knowledge is there. It's just getting people to use it and to leverage it. And one thing I will say, I mean, it is a lot of work for Prasshant to meet with all these leaders, but building those relationships has been key. And I'll give you a good example. Up until Prasshant personally met with our CISO, who did not want to participate in any kind of gamification or optimization or any of this stuff. He was very standoffish, didn't come to anything. His leadership team did not come to anything. And he was in our headquarters here, and Prasshant had an opportunity. I'm not going to say you cornered him in his office, but he had an opportunity to talk to him. And I will tell you, it's been it's been a significant turnaround in the engagement we've had from that organization. So cybersecurity kind of tends to say everything is a mandate, do what I tell you to do and leave me alone. And so this was a way for them to kind of come to us. They actually updated their forecast and they're participating in reviews. And I credit all of that to Prasshant actually having a conversation with our CISO and really kind of convincing him that, hey, this is the right thing to do. This is what we want to do. This works out well for all of us. The more financially viable and budget we have within our CADO spend, that benefits all of our organization, right? Those are projects we can do. That's the innovation work that we want to do. It gives us the freedom to hire the people we need to hire. So it really does help everybody. And I think getting folks to see that has been an amazing thing to watch.
Do you also feel responsible to also provide or find the tooling for engineers to enable them to do everything you're talking about?
Yes, we have few tools. We have our homegrown tool over here at Cisco, and that tool is really effective. We do some kind of gamification for all the teams. So that also, keep everyone on their toes. And it is actually a very good tool. And we are very proud what we built in-house.
And is there also a Hall of Fame?
There is. No, I one of the things I will say is our CIDO has been, he's been really good about supporting. We tried to gamify, right? So our technology leadership team, these guys are all insanely competitive with one another. So no one wants to be like the last horse in the race. So we gamify this so that we make it kind of fun, but it's also a competition. And again, these guys are all very competitive with one another. Nobody wants to be in last place. So it does help push them.
And are there any rewards or ceremonies? How do you gamify it?
Well, someone suggested we get like a light up cloud or something. We haven't done that yet. But I think that would be cute, right? We get a light up cloud and whoever wins for the month gets to keep it on their desk or in their office. So,
but our CIDO, Tom Pack, he highlights this. This is called as Cloud Score, and he highlights which team actually won the competition. We'll be doing specifically some fin hacks, not this year, but next year. So we will see, if the team really understands the FinOps enablement, the framework, the cultural environment, for FinOps.
That wraps up another episode of FinOps in Action. Thank you for joining. For show notes and more, please visit finopsinaction.com. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action.